What's up, sleepyheads? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Sleepy Aliens Perspective. I am your host, Leigh, and let's jump right into it. So I've been off work, I think, for like 20 minutes, and I got plenty of inspiration today to talk about spiritual warfare in the workplace. And for those people who don't have that label of spiritual warfare, just think about social warfare. And we're just going to focus on the deeper reasons for that. But I'm going to give you 5 spiritual perspectives on the topic, basically. But before we get into that, I want to tell a story about what happened today. So I never wear my glasses at work because sometimes when you're really tapped in and your intuition's high and your psychic abilities are kicking, it's so easy to pick up on somebody else's energy. And I can see multiple layers to people very easily, especially if I'm wearing my glasses. It just intensifies it. So if I'm doing like a lot of customer service work where I'm like dealing with over 100 people, personally, just through my own checkout lane every day, then I'm going to, it's hard for me to wear my glasses. So today I decided to wear my glasses, but I brought like a sage bundle with me and I brought a crystal with me. And I've had like crystals in my pocket just while I'm working. And, I know a lot of people don't believe in that, but, just like any piece of nature, crystals have a high vibrational charge. Crystal stones, rocks, there are all of these long-standing like relics that hold the pure energetic life force of like Mother Nature. They're an extension of that. So crystals have like healing properties, and they can help you. They can remove negative energy and protect you from negative energy. And sage does the same thing as well. And of course, I wasn't burning sage at work, but I just had, and this was just on like my keyboard, at my register. So yeah, I have my whole little, you got the register bell, then my keyboard stand, and I put the sage and the crystal like on the little screen on the keyboard. And there's not even any buttons over there. So it's not in a space where it would be an inconvenience. But apparently it was problematic to somebody. So I go on my lunch and I get back and I see my crystal and the sage bundle has been moved off to the side. And most of my coworkers are, they know about crystals. Not everybody uses them, but most of us are into them. And so we all understand like the energetic, spiritual, and let's be real, my spirituality is my religion. So we're all aware of like that significance. And we all know that you just don't touch somebody's crystal unless they have offered, or unless you have a very healthy, energetic connection with them, right? So I get back, somebody's moved my crystal, and I asked the lead at the time, I was like, hey, who moved my crystal? And she tells me that it's the assistant manager for the cashiers. And of course, this particular assistant manager, she is one of those people in the Matrix that are there to challenge others in a sense and challenge their ability to maintain a high vibration. And this person isn't always like this, but if this person is operating in an insecure space, they act out because they want to feel empowered and they want to have control. And they want to put other people down in the way that they feel that other people are doing to them. At least that's my interpretation, other than, this assistant manager just being like, a psychotic asshole or something. But yeah, so I find out it's the assistant manager, and at first, because I feel like I've been really tested, like I keep getting just tested by negativity to the point where these situations, like the oppositional evil forces in this world, they want me to self-sabotage. They want me to have a negative reaction to where I put myself in a predicament that only I can take responsibility for. So that's why it's really important to, think about spiritual warfare in the workplace, because of course it concerns your livelihood, but also your mental health. But yeah, so this particular assistant manager, she's kind of a bully to a lot of people. And I'm in a place, of course, where I just can't like cuss her out and put her in her place and, say everything that I would like to say to her, right? I've had to be very silent, and I've already like talked about her with the store managers before, because it was so problematic, because she was just trying to get a reaction out of me. And I absolutely, I'm like anybody else. Everybody has like a temper complex, and if you're a kind of person that is really good at controlling your reactions, and I've gotten so much better at that over the past years, but that is the one thing that will piss off these like negative people the most, is when you don't react. So they'll just keep going. It's like that bully in high school or middle school that would fight a kid, and then they would get their ass kicked, but then they would keep trying to fight that same kid because they had to prove to everybody that they could beat up that kid. So you would hear about Johnny and Tony getting into like their fourth fight that year, like, where they like, that's kind of what she like wants to happen. But I don't waste my time on negative people. I don't waste my energy on unnecessary conflict. And it's not even an ego thing. It's purely, how much energy do I have today? And is this situation worth it? And it's not. I have shit to do. I want to feel good. I don't care about what you're doing. But you touched my crystal and my sage, which I was using to protect my energy while I'm working that day. And also, I want to say it was working. I was having great interactions with customers. No customer had any issue with my crystal and sage being on my register. I mean, I don't think most of them even noticed, but the point is, no one had a problem with it. But yeah, I did confront this assistant manager, and I said, hey, did you move my crystal and sage? And her response was, this is in your locker. And I was like, I had this there for a reason. And people put plenty of things on their register keyboard. Like, I've seen people put flowers, and this assistant manager has even decorated all of like the register areas, including the keyboard, with different holiday stuff before. So the fact that all of a sudden, my sage and crystal is a problem. And I tell you, you get tested more with negative people. The higher your vibration is, the better you're doing, the more you're growing. Like, you're just going to get challenged more, right? It's almost like, in a sense, think about more money, more problems. If we were looking at that in a spiritual way, it's like the more abundance, the more problems you have. So if you're a highly abundant person and you attract positive things into your life, that's going to offend the negativity, the demons, however you want to say it, in people. That's going to offend their spirit, the part of them that hasn't healed yet, and they can't get there, but they see that you've healed that aspect in you, and they want that, and they get jealous. I mean, that's how jealousy derives, right? And I have moments of jealousy or when I'm operating in an insecurity, but I know when to check myself before I go down that rabbit hole of self-sabotage, right? But that is kind of what led me to, want to do this episode, was this whole situation. And it's not the first time I've dealt with workplace warfare, I've been in more corporate, elegant environments where you really have to be mindful of how you handle conflict and you really have to be smart and savvy. And I think when I worked at the university, I got really good at that because there's so much of that. And I think in the social behavioral science aspect of the college that I worked at, I think I was like the only, there was one black female. I was the only black female admin. And all of the departments that are associated with social and behavioral sciences. And then later on, we did get one Hispanic woman who started working in another department. And maybe I'm missing somebody. But there was a few. Yeah. Anyways, a lot of the racial equality was not a thing there. So just being black and being young, and I don't know how young I look to people now, but most people say that I still look really young, and I do look really young. And so, and I'm 31 now. So imagine what I looked like when I was 26, right? I probably looked like a child. So I wore a lot of blazers to let people know that, oh no, I am the admin in this office. Because people would come into my office and they'd be like, oh, I'm looking for an admin. I'm like, I'm the admin. I'm wearing the big blazer. I'm sitting at this desk, and there's my name, I'm not just sitting here. But I understand people thought I was a student worker thing. Not the point. But I'm just saying all this because I want people to know that I have a lot of experience of being challenged by people in the workplace. We all do. And we have those experiences to develop better reactions to those experiences because we will have them for the rest of our lives, right? Like the social politics of high school never seems to end because, we never really get rid of our teenage self. We never really get rid of those teenage insecurities. They all come up sometimes, but our perception of them is how we, change our responses, right? But yes, an end of that story, I ended up just reporting the assistant manager because I have tried to be so patient and understanding because I don't want to see anybody get fired from a job. I don't want to see anybody get fired from a minimum wage job, right? We have such good benefits of that job. So I really try to avoid, one, getting into unnecessary conflict, but also two, escalating that conflict to the point where, someone has to get fired. So that's not what I want to happen, but she's crossed the line. And it's not just about the crystals. It's about her overall bully management style. And I'm not the only one. She does this too. She does it to a lot of people who work, who are cashiers. And I won't go into full details about the first time that I had to, make reports about her with the management team. But I did let them know that good people leave a workplace because somehow in the matrix, the really shitty, rude, problematic people in your job are often the ones who get promoted and they get multiple chances to correct their behavior. But ultimately that doesn't happen soon enough for good people to stay around, right? It's weird to me. I don't understand it. But that's the matrix for you. Everything's fucking opposite. The workplace, the regular 9-to-5 workplace, the matrix doesn't want it to be a healthy environment. It's not meant to be, It just wouldn't go with that narrative in America, I guess. But, okay, so here are my 5 things to note about spiritual warfare in the workplace. Number 1, no reaction is key. So not only is your silence going to be the thing that empowers you in this situation, but also you being okay and finding strength and not having to verbally always stick up for yourself. Because in this world of social media and, the public court, right? There's so much power that public opinion holds now about different situations that happen. And unfortunately, cancel culture is a thing. And that's only intensified and impacted how comfortable people feel speaking up and like saying their truth. But a lot of times, and when you become more successful, you can't always just say what you want to say and lash out, because you're going to end up like Cardi B and all of these other people who have these really intensive emotional reactions on social media that should be private. And, you know, I grew up in the 90s. I didn't really have like, I mean, I had a cell phone in high school, but I think I had like $5 of like minutes on there, and I had no one that I was texting or calling. So after a while, I didn't even like have my mom like recharge it or anything. So I didn't really have one until college, basically. And I just didn't really rely on social media. Like, I just didn't have all of that dependence on social media for my emotional expression. And because I think a lot of times it is helpful. Like, people need to reach out to other people. People need community. Like, it can be very helpful. But a lot of times we all have to be mindful of saying things publicly that can be used against us, of course. And it's not even like, you know, admitting to some crime or something. It's like admitting certain weaknesses or habits that, you know, people may want to use against you later. That's just something to be mindful of. And that's my conspiracy theorist mind as well. But I think that's really important. But no reaction is key. And yes, it will piss that coworker off, and they will try 5 times more to do something awful to you. But no reaction is key. 2, remember that the purpose of toxic people is to teach you something. So it's really important to detach yourself from taking the situation personally. And yes, the situation, remember, the situation is for you. It's not against you or about you, you know. But if it's getting to the point where it's affecting your ability to do your job, then that's when you know, should report things. And of course, always be documenting, you know. I think that's important as well. But yeah, remember that the purpose of toxic people is to teach you something. So detach from that sense of like feeling attacked and the world is against you, and like, you know, yes, that manager may want to see you squirm and get fired, but the world isn't against you. Reason number 3, so focus on what you're learning from that person. Focus on how you're responding to the conflict. Like, that is how you, in that situation, maintain that focus on yourself. And the actions of that person becomes obsolete, because you're going to be like, well, I see how I responded to that, and maybe that wasn't so healthy, and how can I do that better? And then you do it better, and that reaction that they're wanting from you, you're still not giving it to them. So that's spiritual victory, right? If you maintain your power, your integrity, and you control your emotions, you know. So focus on what you're learning. That is key. Also, number 4 is to focus on your breath. So if you're working customer service, and if you have any job with toxic coworkers or anything like that, there's a lot that you're going to be holding in all day, because you really can't express how you feel when you're dealing with like a rude customer. You can't express all the things you like to say to a rude coworker or a mean manager, right? So it's really important to focus on your breathing to move that toxic negative energy that they are wanting to build up in you, so that you expel it and have a really negative reaction. Like, you just go the fuck off to the point where you get kicked out and you get fired, you know, something like that. They want that to happen. So focus on your breath in those moments. If someone's saying some really rude shit to you, just keep saying, breathe in, breathe out, you know, just focus on your breath. Even if you're like making really weird faces, because it might be really hard to breathe in that moment. And it's hard because a part of you is wanting to just go off and black out and let that person know how you really feel. But you can't. So focus on your breath and tune that person out. Tune that person out. Detach from taking it personal. Act like it's, a lot of times I see parents who deal with like kids who are kind of nagging them about wanting to buy something or just like being all in their face. And the parent will be so good about just still looking at me and being like, so how was your day? And the kid's like, can I have this? Can I have that? And then the parents is like, okay. But that's kind of how you have to treat these negative like people in your workplace. You just have to treat them like a bad child. I don't want to say a bad dog, but a bad child. We'll give them a bad child. The status of a bad child. Yeah. Okay, so number 5 is the hardest thing to admit when it comes to toxic coworkers, because it makes you call out something in yourself. And this hard thing to admit is the fact that that person, that toxic person, they might be reflecting something of yourself, some trait that you aren't acknowledging. They're reflecting it back to you. And the universe is has brought that person into your life so you can recognize that. And I tell you, those are the traits that you're going to be the most in denial about, the ones that you don't want to talk about. And of course, like I said, it's not easy to do. It takes some journaling. It takes some walks in nature, a bike ride, maybe a quiet meal, a campfire. I don't fucking know. Find some place where you will feel comfortable enough admitting a shitty behavior that you do and that you need to change in yourself, right? And even with this assistant manager, a common behavior that I noticed in her is that if I don't, want to fuck with a person, like if I don't want to like talk to you anymore, if you like have disappointed me in some way, I have like, it's not even like my ego, it's like my spirit. You've offended my spirit and I can't communicate with you. And sometimes I can't even make direct eye contact with the person in those situations. It's crazy, but it's intuitive, it's animalistic, and I can't change it because that energy is not in alignment with me. And if we were in the jungle, I've just come across a questionable new creature that, I can't trust, right? But my consciousness knows that people deserve second chances, but that animalistic, response in me is like, get the right? But yeah, so I hope you guys have found this insightful. I think it's important to talk about, and I think in terms of workplace conflict, I hope you find, these, perspectives to kind of give you some relief and kind of help you navigate the situation better. But overall, speak up for yourself. Don't be afraid to report people. I mean, eventually, once you evolve controlling your emotions, you just do what all the rich people in the world do, which is report and sue each other, right? And so reporting in the workplace is just practice for your future lawsuits. No, I'm joking. That's silly. But thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. This is the first episode in a little bit. I had to take like a little break there, but it's good to be back. Thanks. And I'll see you next time, sleepyheads. Bye.